These hearings have been an unjustified waste of taxpayer money intended first to justify the board's support for inserting creationist claims into the science standards and to provide a showcase for the national intelligent design movement. The minority report and witnesses have misrepresented many educational issues, including the role of standards and the Draft 2 position on teaching students the skills of scientific inquiry.
Mr. Iraganagorai's testimony lasted about 1 hour and 45 minutes. It ended with his refusal to submit his presentation to any question.
Given the breach of the rules by the opposing counsel, the rules being that we would have an opportunity to cross-examine for an amount of time equal to half of their presentation time, which would be approximately an hour. I don't have any problem if he doesn't want to answer my questions, but I do think, given the fact that I should have an hour, I should have the opportunity to respond to what he has just said. What is so significantly absent from the majority case is the data. Where is the data to support the claim of evidence so overwhelming that there can be no dissent? So the case for the majority simply is completely and totally empty. There is no evidence. There is no data. Only oratory. This is what the strategy is. Quote, the strategy at this point is the same as it was in 1999. Notify the national and local media about what's going on, all of you in the audience, and portray them in the harshest light possible. Dr. Harris is the most humble guy I think I've ever known, and his brilliance is just mind-numbing. The guy is an internationally recognized scientist. He is doing work that could affect the lives of everybody in the entire world in a very positive way. And he is being derided as an ignoramus, as an unprincipled bully, as a breaker of rules. There may be no way to head off another science standards debacle, but we can sure make them look like asses as they do what they do. This is not by ID scientists. This is a compilation of about 17 articles of molecular biologists and biochemists. And at the beginning of the book, they raised 26 issues that evolution cannot explain. They're not being able to explain with natural selection. And they start off. The very first question is, why did metazoan body plans arise in a burst? How did we get all of these body plans very suddenly? And what is the policy of the National Science Teachers Association? Do not adopt any policies that will suggest to students that life arises suddenly rather than gradually. You see, we can't show them any evidence that violates Darwin's prediction that diversity arises in a purely gradual way. What the problem is the fossil record is really inconsistent with that prediction. Jill Gonzalez Bravo was in fear, was literally in fear to come and testify here. That is a situation that our society should not tolerate. So thank you for this opportunity to speak and to give my closing argument.
Members of the Kansas State Board of Education Subcommittee on State Science Standards are Ms. Connie Morris, Ms. Kathy Martin, and Dr. Steve Abrams, Chairman.
Mr. Irganagarai put up a PowerPoint that said that scientists will not participate because it gives the veneer of respectability. This would seem to indicate that science is more about obtaining respectability and not about seeking the truth. Obviously, if all the science was on the side of the evolutionists, they would come and embarrass the scientists that made presentations last week and those of us on the board by completely destroying the scientific evidence presented last week. Alan Leshner was quoted as saying, "Scientists love to fight, they love to argue in public, and they love to refute each other's point of view." If you look around the room, there's a lot of people here, a lot of cameras here. This seems like a pretty public place, a good place to have a debate about the evidences in science, particularly when that's what we're looking for. But indeed, no, such is not the case. What does happen instead is boycott.
The board has been accused of being closed-minded, and these hearings as being rigged. I guess we'll leave it up to the public, who might be the jury in this matter, to answer some of the questions that I would have liked to ask the council based on what we've heard these 4 days. Which side of the issue is being closed-minded?
The main purpose for my videos was to show that the scientific evidence actually supports the biblical account for the origins of life and not Darwinian evolution. Christians do not need to be intimidated by evolutionary theory. Evolution is a man-made theory to give atheism some intellectual credibility, and only survives because it is more politically correct than acknowledging God as our creator. As we have seen, the science is most consistent with a common designer. Number 1, life appears suddenly, fully formed in the Cambrian explosion. 2, the information needed for life in DNA could only have come from an intelligent agent. 3, life is irreducibly complex, so life could not have been constructed in small steps. 4, natural selection and mutations actually result in a loss of information. My videos only scratch the surface of the absurdity of evolution. There is so much more, like sexual dimorphism or the need for a male and female for reproduction. It is absurd to think that two sexes uniquely separate from one another could have evolved separately by small steps and at the same time remain perfectly compatible at each step to be able to reproduce to continue the process of evolution. Don't be surprised when evolutionists continue to support an archaic theory no matter what the science shows, as they are really driven by ideology and not science. Their emotional reaction to any question of evolution betrays their commitment to ideology. I think I have done what I intended to do, so I've decided this is my last video. When I started doing these in August of 2007, I never would have dreamed I would do 24 videos. I hope you enjoyed watching them as much as I enjoyed making them. What we believe about Jesus Christ is far more important than what we believe about the origins of life. So hopefully these videos can be a tool to strengthen our trust in the Bible and ultimately our faith in Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have eternal life. For God sent the Son into the world not to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through Him. John 3:16-17.